would say probably my favorite moment was when we were in the Spires of Ascension. It's the last game against Aster, and Meeres tells us that they wiped. To be honest, that's probably like my most memorable moment. I think because then, could relax a little bit, and I kind of understood that we are going to become 4 times champions.
For me, it's kind of the same, but also on the first day, also a very memorable moment is that we won against Complexity, and we didn't drop down to meet Perplexed for place 8 match, because we were already talking about the place 8 match with them, and we were like, man, it can't happen. And I got a lot of DMs during that match, so it was that we won that match was a good day, let's say it like that. And I think people would not have been happy if we would have went down to lower bracket. So I would say probably that one for me.
I think for me it was the second game actually, against
Ambition?
Ambition, yeah. I don't know, it was a really good series because both teams played good, but it's always, I don't know, I was more hyped for that game than the finals because, I don't know, all this, JPC and Ellis, they're, coming in and they're winning the first game and they're like, oh, we're gonna win the entire shit, and then, yeah, that felt good, like putting them in the dirt.
They played pretty good that game though.
Yeah, they played really well. I remember the games were really close. I think we won like Spice by like 8 seconds or something.
I mean, honestly, I think it's the same as Meeres, because I've had nightmares about losing the first game and Perplex losing their first game and fighting for 8th place. That would have been a rough one. I mean, I said
kind of fucked it for everyone with us losing the cup and having
ruined the whole tournament.
Complexity and us in the upper bracket. It was like very weird.
I mean, before the tournament, it seemed like the top four teams was in the upper side of the bracket. I mean, Aster turned out to be good, but before the tournament, it was a little bit scary.
I think we were very efficient in terms of our practice, first of all, because like a lot of times when you have to develop routes or you have to make adjustments off the run, you have to go and analyze the key. You have to look at cooldown timings, have to look at locks sometimes as well, and that takes time away from practice. And because that could be done as Meeres was looking from the outside, we could optimize our practice hours and we can get more quality practice in. That was just one of the things. Then of course there was also the increased overview. Normally I did most of the calling, but we actually got Meeres to come in and help with that. And in some dungeons, especially like Mist, there's a lot of things to call because there's like infinite stops going around almost with in the maze as well as towards the end.
The mist was so insane from Meeres. Holy hell, seeing the spaceship outside. Okay, it's left, right, can check Night Blossom, and then we're gonna go reverse left here into Frog, and then holy shit.
I think the dungeon was probably the one where it had the biggest impact because there were so many things, in terms of predetermining where in the maze you need to go, as well as the additional stops that was required. And it's just, when a player doesn't have to look at the extra stuff, he doesn't have to focus on more than necessary, well, then he will just perform better, right? And I could definitely feel that on my end, personally. So
it took a while though for Mike to get out of the habit. Yeah? Mike was still in the I need to call all things, and then we kind of managed to get a little bit away from it, and Mike focused doing more on the big dam, and it worked out. So it was good.
Yeah, it was.
And in the beginning, I must say, I mean, you saw it during the cup was not ideal, kind of, because I didn't really know what to do, to be honest. During the cup, I was like, or during that practice as well, we were kind of figuring out what to do, and I was like kind of understanding what is like the most efficient to do with the time I have outside or whatnot. But during the global finals, then it was really sick actually, to have what they already said. Basically, we played for like limited amount of hours only. Then I took a few hours of every night basically, where I watched the whole day as a replay or specific runs. Then I wrote like a long wall of text in Discord with like cooldown changes or improvements we should try out or make or whatever. And obviously those kind of things when we played last time were either done during playing or after it as well. But if you do it after playing for like 10 hours obviously the quality will be way worse than if you have someone outside who's kind of refreshed, let's say, and just does it and has a clear mind and saw it also from the outside, so it's easier to understand what's going on. And all of these things combined kind of make it really nice to have a good overview over the dungeon. And obviously, like Robin said, Miss was like one of the things. Having an outside person was insane because of the RNG, how MDI did it with the routes, that you had a different route every time. And I basically like determined in the beginning of the dungeon how to see the routes, and then I could pre-call every room that we went when Mike had to pull, what cooldowns we had to use, and it was like really easy to understand in the end after we played it a lot, obviously, but it was easy to understand what we want to do in Miss. And there having an outside person obviously helped like a lot and probably saved a decent amount of time if someone inside would have called it.
We played Miss 2 times in the global finals, I think, and we.
I think we only played once, or
Didn't we play?
Yeah, we only played once. Yeah,
They banned
Us
it.
banned it.
Oh, I got banned.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was feared twice.
But I mean, I don't know how they did it last year, of course. But when Meeres was aside and he knows like how Windwalk works, it was really nice because I would just tell him if my cooldowns, if it felt bad, and then he would just be looking at the cooldowns. And then when we were done with the runs, he could just tell me like you should do this instead. And it was really, I mean, just say that all the time. He was, he was kind of like expected. I mean,
Holy shit!
not expected to win, as in more like the whole playing was expected. Like old team always did like we tried to do crazy routes, and then if it worked, it was fast, and if it mostly didn't work, and we wiped. But here, I mean, we didn't do that much like crazy stuff, and we just played like somewhat easier routes and played them a lot, and then you gain a lot of time.
Yeah, I think that's one thing to take away. Is I think we have that mindset of like, stopping when we know it's like too much. And of course, we've had that learning curve as well in the past. Knowing when to say this isn't working. Which, for example, the whole strategy that we ended up with, I don't think that's something that we would have done ever. Back in the day, but kind of got forced into a little bit in order to win it, which we didn't. But we actually had a chance to win against Asta's Halls if it wasn't for the sloppy deaths that we had on first pull. We actually managed to kill the last boss faster than them, which was pretty sick. That would have been a pretty good run if we actually ended up having a clean run. But I mean, it's just about efficient cooldown timing, and then like I like that when we're in the position of having the runs finalized. And then having some days to just run them through, going through them, optimizing them a little bit more. You notice the small things, and then it just gets so like they got so well defined, like all the runs down to the smallest detail. It's like between every stop, the way we're kiting, all of it, like the way we're stacking, the movement, everything gets so min-max, similar to progress in the end. And if you like make last-minute changes, then there's gonna be parts of the run that's got a little bit sloppy. So I think that's
we can't really say it was last-minute changes. The whole we completely remade the entire route, and the day before we played it.
Halls.
It's not like
I'm talking about
last-minute changes. Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm talking about like a standard. If you compare, if Clickz said that they made so many last-minute changes back in the day.
Yeah. I'm actually like speaking about that. I'm like super surprised by like how actually like good like routes other teams had, because I felt like our like holes, for example, was if we had our original holes, it was not like close to beating their time, probably like a minute slower, I think. And same like Necrotic Wake, if we had like a really really sick run, we would probably have beaten their time. But like a lot of teams had like really like good pathing this MDI compared to like the previous one. But also like when you play more, I guess that's one of our like strength, that we have recently like really easy time getting something like pretty good, very like fast, like we saw in the first season, I guess this time around. Like other teams, like the further into the expansion it goes, they just like keep evolving their strats, and they're like getting to like our speed like even faster than we are, and that's when it gets really like scary.
But I think one thing, of course, I mean, I think our performance ended up being fine. It was just in terms of the leading up to it that I think we were worse this time than we've been in the past. Because motivation between some, like yourself as well, Robin, leading up to the tournament, New World was the focus, and there's a lot of these outside things. We didn't push any high keys on live that we used to do. Like when we look back at BFA and Legion, for example, we were so hyped about the game. And a lot of these teams are.
And I think
are
motivation is a big factor, yes, but I don't think like our prep was bad. You can't really prep for MDI.
No, that's not what I mean.
IPs.
There's just a lot of things that we didn't know, you know, like there's a lot of things that we had to learn in MDI, you know, that we normally would have been prepared for. The different covenants, you know, like we could have played Venthyr Bunky most likely. We never tried it, you know, like
I don't agree with that actually. I feel like it's too hard to know about everything in the game, even though like we're like Meeres on the outside even helping us.
I felt we knew less than we know.
I just feel like it was more variety this time around than previous.
There was more classes that were viable this time.
Yeah.
We didn't know all the classes.
And it's like almost impossible, like unless you have like when you have Boomkin mains, but like no one plays Boomkin in a plus. You don't know the like strength of a Boomkin in a plus. Because we always mean that Boomkin is like shit in a plus, right? Because it's always been pretty on like lower keys, you need the ramp and blah blah blah, and then it's just hard to know everything. I think it's just really impossible to know every single class. And what if like Survival Hunter was super insane, and then like no one plays Hunter, and then like yeah, we did bad prep because we didn't play Survival Hunter, but we didn't see a reason to, you know, prepare it, and we can always do more. Of course, I just don't. I don't know. I don't agree with the prep was being. Bad.
I think that Fury Warrior would have been really good, but we didn't prepare it. Like after seeing Reves play it in like raids like last 2 weeks, he's doing like crazy, like consistent AoE damage on Fury.
Yeah, same when I was doing like weekly keys now, like Fury Warrior literally like destroys everything.
I think that's something we should
But
have.
wasn't that a 9.1.5 thing where they got like 100 buff or something?
I don't know, maybe it was.
Well, I personally look at the brackets. I knew the horse could go either way. We were kind of ready to lose that one in a way. But we can't.
I feel like before we just go into the whole, I feel like I felt like we would probably lose holes unless we had like a clean run. But it was hard with solo practice or little practice to actually have a clean run. But we knew, that's why we also didn't ban it, that if we actually had a clean run, which could happen, we would beat them. Now it didn't happen. I had like 4 deaths on the first pool, and that's why we lost. But
yeah, but we still killed the last pool before them. Like it was still really close with 4 deaths on the first pool.
Yeah. And the fact Plaguefall was our weakest run anyway. So that's why we believed in and we had no idea what they actually, we knew the Plaguefall, right? I don't remember now, but
I think Meeres said they had a pretty slow Plaguefall, but ours were even worse.
Exactly. They had a bad Plaguefall, but ours was even worse. So we decided to ban it because for the bracket kinda, we had to decide on either improving horse or Plaguefall, depending on what happened on the second day, if we win or lose, basically. And because we won, we had the opportunity to not practice Plaguefall at all anymore in the tournament because it wouldn't appear anymore, apart from the finals, and then we can ban it. So that's when we decided to swap to horse and basically only have, I don't know how many hours we had on the triple shard thread, like maybe 6 hours practice, maybe a little bit more, 6, 7 probably. And there was obviously, it was pretty hard to
that was also me playing a new class I've never played before, so it was like not a good 6 hours.
Yeah, it was not a good 6 hours, it's true.
Yeah, like when I looked at the maps and I was very confident in our Fear and Mist, I think, because I knew that, well, they are always have a tendency, and like in terms of their comfort, is to always play that mage, and I knew that the mage wasn't like that good on Hunter compared to his mage. So if we ever go into a Hunter dungeon or a dungeon where Hunter's better than mage, like for example, you could argue that it would be in Mist. I think it is, at least for a majority of the paths. Then we would win. So, and I also thought we had a strong Spires. So I looked at the map and I saw 3 of the runs go in our favor. And the horse and Necrotic Wake could have gone either way. I think Necrotic Wake is just that, you know, if you have the God run, everything's just smooth and clean, then you'll have a good run in there, which they really had. I mean, that one was kind of like, I don't know what happened there. An Angel came down and just fucking destroyed their tank right before the bots died or something. But that one was a little spicy, to be honest.
They really gifted us.
But I mean, it's like sad. I feel really bad for them that they like literally like they would have won the Necrotic Wake if they didn't wipe on the last boss. And it's really like cancel like Christmas game early this year or something. But it's like it's always hurt when it's like on the last boss, right? But it's the same if we didn't wipe the first pull on holes. We would have beaten them in holes, but we did it early on, so it doesn't, you know, look the same. You know what I mean? But it's still kind of the same outcome. That if we didn't wipe, we would have won. If they didn't wipe, they would have won.
The carrot was right in front of them, right? And that's why.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was more like it hurts more when it's like so close to the finish line, right? Instead of like just wiping early on in the dungeon. But I don't know. I was super impressed by. Yeah, you can go first before.
No. I mean, you tried to make it close as well. Yeah? When he hit us up at 5%, guys, I'm gonna die here, and then he actually died. Yeah. So that was not the ideal call to be. But it was
because like the previous boss I remember was like super weird.
Yeah,
we had push and we had to like use sack late on the boss. We didn't have sack, and then it came to I don't even remember what happened.
Yeah, I mean our Necrotic Wake, that one where Asta died on the last boss was also that kind of run where Mike said it was far away from a good run. Like it looked like a run that was good because we didn't die, you know. But it was one of the runs where we barely didn't wipe on like 2 out of 3 pulls. And made it happen, kinda. To
like the first boss split was like, wasn't it like 15 seconds like slower than normal or something? I don't remember.
Yeah. The first boss was also like almost 30 seconds from our best run. I think it was crazy how Necrotic Wake is such a dungeon. Or in general, I think that's the case.
That's so weird. How can that even? Yeah, but how can it be the case when it's literally the orbs doing the majority of the boss damage? After like you just make the first pull happen, then orbs carry you through the remainder of the boss, and it can still be such a big difference.
It is like the initial though, I think. Like sometimes the initial boss dies.
Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes like 2 mobs live and you have to kill them off, and we just slow the ropes and everything.
That is something I can tie into basically for the question for the finals as well, how I felt from the outside looking at the dungeons. What Mike said is not wrong, that we had like in Theater of Pain, I think we were consistently better than Asta in the case. And in Necrotic Wake, I think we probably both had, like when I spoke to the Chinese, I knew we kind of had the same best runs in Necrotic Wake. But a lot of the times, like in dungeons, basically I'm just gonna name 2 examples, like Necrotic Wake and the other side, you can have runs that look good, but end up being like 30 to a minute slower, because pulls can just go either way, and sometimes we have pulls in a dungeon where if you have like Windwalker procs or the pull is just very clean and nothing is going wrong basically, like a super good run, you gain so much time in some dungeons. And that's kind of the thing that I really disliked in the second season now, because of strat making and how the dungeons are designed and whatnot. There's very little things we could change compared to the first MDI, because you have to pick in general lands 80% the good count, and then you pick the 20% bad count, and you maybe swap like the strat is swapping 5 mobs max. Yeah.
I just feel like we need like a new seasonal affix to like mix things up, like I didn't BFA, but like what's it called, Awakening with like the portals and stuff. Like now in MDI, it wasn't like, you know, the most like played for obviously, and that wasn't the healer's kiting, right? It wasn't like the most insane, but like what I did like the in MDI, I remember there was a lot of super much strat making with all the mob spawning. What's that called? What's
Reaping.
Called
Reaping.
Yeah, real. Was that the emissaries? No, there was no reaping. Yeah, with all the mobs, I remember like in the Underoath, so with the stuff where like you pulled it into a big pool with 2 DKs and like buffed it. Like it was so much fun to play that in MDI. And high keys was pretty painful, I guess, but
yeah,
I just feel like we need something to like spice
like,
things up a bit, to change how you play the dungeons, because they're really getting really boring now. Because both these affixes, it's like something you usually like, okay, either we pull it with 1 pack or we play it alone, or we just completely skip it, right? And it's kind of boring.
Yeah, it was really boring. Also for strat making, I mean, Robin and me are looking at MDTs a lot when we make the strats and whatnot. And it is just, back in the days, we had like the most insane cut-offs with the CCing 1 mob here, like having really the 5-head plays, you could kind of say. And now the 5-head play is, man, do we play the fire guy here or not? Or what power do we pick? I think that was probably the biggest discussion point of the new affix, man. What power do we pick? And back in the days, it was a lot of like thinking on how to play also with the emissaries. I don't know what affix it was, like season 3 or whatever. The emissaries were like, when do we get it in? Do we play them on the void emissary? Do we skip all the void emissaries and whatnot? There was like a lot of tactic going into it. And how the Shadowlands is right now, we really need a new affix that changes up how you play a dungeon. Otherwise, the 3rd season will be even more, I guess it will be more, I would say, more exciting to watch, because the matches will be even closer, but it will be way worse to play, because you will go into a dungeon with a feeling, man,
dude, I know this
already since like 2 years, yeah.
Since they bring the great push, like everyone's complaining about Shadowlands dungeons, right? And they bring Legion dungeons into the great push. Dude, imagine if they made like Legion MDI dungeons happen as well. That would be like, I would love that shit. It would be so much fun because something new, right? Even like for all the teams, I think they would kind of appreciate it because the Shadowlands are becoming like pretty boring. Like some people probably still like them. Yeah, wow.
I actually think Tazavesh will probably be a cool dungeon. I'm not gonna lie.
I haven't even done that.
Yeah, it's
so I don't know.
Yeah.
They just need to know. I did that yesterday actually with like some random people. That place is crazy. Like normal Mythic, we were wiping almost on like.
Oh my god.
That was
It's like Seed. Yeah, it's
Seed. Yeah. Man, if we're gonna go through like we did with Junkyard.
But imagine next season MDI.
Never played that
like,
shit.
Tazavesh, maybe like 2 or 3 Legion dungeons. I would love that. But then of course it would be like so much like relearning for a lot of teams, and that's kind of like. I feel like that's what they don't want. That they want teams to have an easy time getting into MDI for more competition, which is like truly great. I love more competition. Like we talked about earlier, that this time around it was so many more. Like usually there's like maybe 1 or 2 teams. I remember like in BFA it was Perplexed and like Complexity. That was like before we faced either of those, we kind of like just do our thing. We're gonna win this game, right? There's not too much competition. We just know that other team is not gonna be able to contest our time as long as we don't fuck it up. Meanwhile, you get to like the upper finals or the grand finals, and then you actually know that they can probably just be faster than us, even if we play proper. This time around, though, it was almost that feeling every game that you don't really know if you're gonna win or lose, even though you play good, because there's so many good teams. I think like all 8 teams were actually like really good this time around. There was no team I just felt like, I want to face this because it's a free win.
I loved it. Like when I look back on them, the eyes, of course, there's always things that could have been done better on Blizzard's end, and I hope they do, because I do think M+ has a lot of potential, and they could improve a lot on the formats that they have right now. I mean, I can't speak on behalf of the whole team. Like there's a reason why we've been successful so many times when we built this team back in the day. I remember when I reached out to Meeres, he was about to play already, but I did a little quickie snack. And it was the same thing here with Clickz. So I think we've been playing a lot together for a long time, and I think I wouldn't personally want to change the team chemistry we have, because I don't think you can find a better team. We have on and off days like anyone else, but I think that if everyone in this team like really puts an effort and prepares properly, and we don't slack off, then I would like I don't think we'll lose if we're on our best days, but I would like to see how far we can take it. I mean, we won 4 times in a row, and I know you need to stop on top, but I still think we have some wins on us. So I mean, I'm always up for playing them every time.
What's up, guys? Thank you all for watching. If you like this kind of content, please let us know by liking the video and subscribing to the channel. It really helps us out. And we just hope you enjoyed it. And we should be catching you all in the next one when it's 100p.